Hello, I'm the Grub Street Lodger, and I thought I'd do a sort of more writing focused video today. I'm also going to put on my blog because I didn't know what I wanted to put on my blog this week. Remember, if you want really, really regular Grub Street Lodger stuff, you want to go on www.grubstreetlodger.uk because that's where I update every week. And this is today's update, and the update is: was it worth getting a writing MA? I'll answer now because I don't like those videos where you have to wait all the way to the end. In terms of practical, did it help me get on becoming a writer? No, not at all. In terms of other things it gave me, you'll have to see to the end. I think it did. Yeah, there's some good bits. So first, why I decided to take an MA and why I took the one I did. Now, my BA was in philosophy in York, and I'm of an age where the story about get yourself a degree and that'll do good for you, whatever it is, was not quite the joke it is now. It was becoming one, but it wasn't quite. So a degree was, the idea was good, and philosophy was supposed to be quite a good one at showing all sorts of different skills. And I took philosophy because it was different, and I was fed up of all the things I've been doing at school for years and years. I mean, history, which probably would have been a more sensible choice. I mean, I'd done Tudors 6 times over the length of my school career, as it were. So I just took philosophy as something different, and then I hated it, and I was no good at it, and I ended up with a 2-2, though I am contractually obliged to say it was very nearly a 2-1. And so, yeah, no, I don't think I learned anything out of philosophy. But what did happen was I wrote a novel, and I liked that, and all of a sudden I knew what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. Oh, right. Now, when I got a degree, it was when course prices were hundreds, not thousands, and so I did take the student loan, but I kept it all because I worked, and I then spent that on the MA, which by then they had introduced the thousands of pounds. And so that's how I got an MA. And I thought, MA in writing. Yeah, that'd be good. The one I really wanted was the UAE, University of East Anglia, because at the very beginning of sort of the millennium, late 90s, they had almost a direct course to publishing pipeline with people getting these huge advances and all sorts of things going on there. What is my hair doing? All sorts of things going on there. So that's the one I really wanted. It wasn't quite where it had been before, but it's still the big name. I went to the interview, and they were saying in the interview, if you got the interview, we thought your writing was good enough. We had a nice chat, and when I got back from the interview, the rejection letter was waiting for me on the doormat. Now, this was before the Tories took over, so things weren't as broken as they are now, but even then, the post couldn't have been sent that day. They would have sent the rejection letter before I went to the interview, which presumably means that the course leaders liked my writing and so interviewed me, but and my eyebrows, all the hair's wrong today, but the secretaries or whoever was doing had seen that I got a 2-2 and that wasn't good enough, so I got rejected. So there's that. Nottingham, I can't remember what attracted me about Nottingham, but I do remember I went to Nottingham and went, I don't want to live here. Falmouth, which I never actually got to go and see, and then 2 in London. There was the City and Middlesex, around London. And City was the one I most wanted because it was a novel course. It was part-time, over 2 years, and by the end of it, your dissertation was an entire novel, and that was what you got marked on. I thought, well, that sounds brilliant. That's exactly what I want. And I chatted with the course runner, and me and her seemed to really click, and I thought, I got this. And then the other one, Middlesex, was a more generic, it wasn't even called creative writing, it was called writing. And it seemed a little bit hobbyisty, and, I got on all right with the person. It was like, it was all right. So then I got on a course, and I moved to London, and I moved in with some people from York, and part of where we placed ourselves was that I could walk into the city and do my course, which is then I realised I hadn't been accepted for the city course. I've been accepted for the Middlesex one, which was in some ways lucky because Middlesex University from Arsenal would have been very difficult to get to, but it was on a extraneous campus called Trent Park. So I was on the right line. I was on the Piccadilly line. I had to go all the way up to the wonderfully named Cockfosters. And later in the house I lived in, there was a Cockfosters sign on the shed. But yeah, I had to go all the way to Cockfosters, to the Trent Park campus, which was stunning, especially in spring, about nowish, because there were thousands of daffodils in this beautiful yellow carpet. It was like that scene in Big Fish, but real life. It was really, really nice place to be, and it had some links to Churchill, I remember, and yeah, it was a gorgeous place to go and do things, but it wasn't the one I expected. In fact, I thought that course didn't really like me very much. So that's how I ended up on the course. So what was the course? Well, it was every Wednesday. It was for the day. We would go and meet my group, and we'd have lectures. In the first year, it was all sort of lectures in the morning, and then sort of seminars in the afternoon where you bring something to read if it was your turn or something like that. And then the second year was a bit more one-on-one because we were going through the dissertation, which was I think it was 20,000 words of something. And this is actually my bound dissertation for that. So yeah, was it useful? On a completely practical, no. This was what they made to market us. We all debated the title. I never liked it. It doesn't look that good. It's all right. Apparently it was sent out to agents and publishers and all this sort of stuff, but I don't think any of us ever got anything out of it. So that wasn't so good. It didn't get any of us known. There was a literary festival where we got to read. We did 2 of those. And again, not useful, but good fun. Got to meet lots of writers. I met Jane Ure. I unfortunately, I think I insulted Jane Ure because there was the writer of Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging coming. Now, I was looking forward to hearing her talk because my sister was a fan, but she couldn't come in the end and was replaced by Jane Ure. Who wrote some kids' books I liked, actually. I remember Skinny Melon and Me, I think was one. And I was saying, it's sad this person can come, and this lady next to me said, well, I've come instead. I'm Jane Ure. And I'd always read her name as Jane Ure, so I didn't recognise her name. But also at one of these literary festivals, I got quite drunk with Ian Banks. That was really good fun. That was a highlight. And one of the fun things was all these writers coming to talk to us. We had Charles Palliser, Penelope Lively. There were some others as well. That was good. So it was different bits. One was researching as a writer. There was a short story bit. There was a novel bit where we looked at novels. There was the big dissertation. Some other bits as well. Did I learn much? You know what? I think you could probably learn most of what I learned from YouTube videos and things. The most useful thing I ever learned in terms of practical skill is don't start with a zinger line. I always did. But novels are read in paragraphs and pages and chapters. They're read in chunks. So if you start with a zinger line, it has to go down from there. What you want is the paragraph to build to the zinger line. That's the most useful practical thing I learned there. It was kind of interesting, some of it. There was one thing, we read Bruno Schulz and had to write an essay about something about him. There was a bunch of stuff, but I chose him. And one of the course leaders loved this essay because what I did was I went into very granular detail about the symbolism of various flowers and things to try and construct a meaning for this story. It's a very wishy-washy, not wishy, nebulous kind of story. So I was trying to, right, here are the pinpricks of, what things represent generally, and this is how they could combine, tell a story. And one of them said it was very good sort of forensic analysis, and the other gave me a terrible mark and said it was like a geography student's essay on Narnia, and that I hadn't appreciated the magic of it. Which I don't think an essay is a place to appreciate magic, is it? I don't know. And it had to go to a third person in the end to referee, because one gave it such a high mark and one gave it such a low mark. Yeah. And in terms of the hobbyisty bit, it wasn't a hobbyist, but I don't think any of us have gone on to be successful writers. I was the youngest person in the group by about 15 years. And we did stand out rather in campus when we were all together. But I met some pretty fun people. One in particular, he was a former editor of the Fetish Times, and he'd been writing fetish novels and spanky novels and things. He still is, just a very nice kind of person, and good fun. And when we graduated, he had a dinner where he'd kept all this wine for years for a special occasion, and we had all this fancy wine, and he cooked really well, and that was good. He also invited me to a book launch by another fetish writer who was a bigger fetish writer, and it was in the pub where Aleister Crowley used to meet. And the book is one of the oddest books I own. It's a parody encyclopedia of sexual fetishes, sort of parody Victorian encyclopedia of sexual fetishes. And when he went to sign it, he said, "What's your fetish?" And I said, "Oh, surprise me." So I think he gave me one to do with enemas. And this was where I met his wife, who told me and my friend that we should join Uglies, the modelling agency for ugly people. And she meant this sincerely and kindly, because she'd joined, and it was one of the things she most enjoyed and got most out of. And I almost wish I had joined Uglies now. I'd have some good stories out of that. So yeah, I met some good people. That's something I did get out of it. I had some fun experiences. That is something I did get out of it. It was really nice one day a week to just go and be a writer and be thought of as a writer and sit in this beautiful place and think about writing and books, and a reason to write something every week, and all of that was really good. But again, not worth the money. You could have a community like that for free. You could learn most of the stuff we learned off YouTube videos. But some of the experiences, drinking with authors and chatting and all that was good. But the thing, the secret benefit I really got. So I went in to talk about my dissertation, and there were a box of books. And so Trent Park had been used as a teacher training college, and they were getting rid of a bunch of their old teacher training stuff, and it included a bunch of novels and things, and I picked up a bunch for free. And one of them was Joseph Andrews by Henry Fielding. I nearly called it Joseph Adams. Joseph Andrews. And I read it, and I was like, this is great, because at that point, in terms of sort of my reading life, I'd been really into Kurt Vonnegut, but read everything of his several times over, and I hadn't quite found the next thing. And this, the voice of, how's it gone? Henry Fielding. Voice of Henry Fielding and the voice of Kurt Vonnegut don't sound at all alike, but the strength of the voice is quite similar. The fact that they're so intrusive is very similar. So that was fun. And I really loved it, and I wanted more like it. So I read more like it, and I found Tristram Shandy, and then I found out about Samuel Johnson. I went to the Samuel Johnson house, and picked up his essays, and Raslas, and Life Johnson by Boswell, and read those, and fell in love with him, and then Goldsmith, fell in love with Goldsmith. And so my whole interest in the 18th century, this whole Grub Street thing, stems from a book I picked up for free that was being tossed out at Trent Park by Middlesex University. And that's how I got into 18th century stuff. Um, and so, yes, that's what I got out of it. This whole world of interest, which has opened up so much for me, not just in terms of reading and writing, but in terms of going to the Johnson Book Group and blogging for them, and going to behind the scenes at museums, and went to Johnson Memorial in Westminster Abbey and slap up dinner afterwards, and lectures, and going to a lecture and finding my own blog being spoken back at me by a lecturer who didn't know I was in the audience, and volunteering at the Johnson House, and now writing this novel about the brothers Johnson. And so this whole thing, and it's not all Samuel Johnson as well, Christopher Smart, and Eliza Haywood, and Sarah Fielding, and Collier, and so many people, so many interesting things. So much has given me joy and pleasure. For World Book Day at school, we had to dress up as something to do with books that gave us delight and joy, and I did dress up as Samuel Johnson, and I don't have a photograph of that. I'm sorry. And so, yeah, that's what it gave me. It gave me that, which was completely by accident and had nothing to do with what we were there for, and I find that tends to be the case. There you go. Thank you very much.